What's going on, AVS pros? My name is Matthew Webb, and welcome back to the AVS channel and a how-to video. Today, we're going to touch on a slightly different topic. So we have a lot of content on HCX and NSX, some vSphere basics and vSAN, but now we're going to start moving into some of the other items and suites in the VMware Cloud Foundation platform. A lot of customers are starting to adopt VMware Cloud Foundation as a platform for their on-prem infrastructure, and they're starting to get a lot of new tools that they may have not used in the past. One of those may be Aria Operations. So the question becomes, how can I use Aria Operations with AVS? What is Aria Operations? So we're going to touch on a couple of those topics today in this how-to video and how to install it. So the first thing to keep in mind is like the topology and what is supported today. And so as of recording this video, Aria is only supported when the appliance that's actually running Aria is installed on-prem. So we do not support Aria Operations being deployed in an AVS cluster today. That will likely change, but as recording this video, that is where we're standing today. Now, as per best practice, Aria needs a collector. So we're going to deploy a collector within the AVS cluster, and we'll go through how to install that collector and how to add your keys so that it can roll up into the Aria appliance you have installed on-prem. Now, the biggest, probably the trickiest part for a lot of people in doing this is making a service principal account. So there's documentation on docs.vmware.com. But the challenge people have is it doesn't really detail out how to create a service principal account. And if you haven't gone through like an AZ-104 class, or you're not very, Azure fluent, you may not understand what it takes. So that's what this video is going to focus on, is how do I create that service principal account and what permissions does it need? So here's an idea of all the objects that will be involved in the creation of a service principal account and the things that you will need to fill out the fields in Aria. So you have an intra ID tenant, and you're going to need the intra tenant ID to plug into Aria. You'll need the subscription ID, which is sort of a child of your intra ID tenant. You'll have a role that you create specifically. It's a custom role for this Aria service principal account that will have specific permissions to the AVS services so they can get the information that it needs. And then we apply that role to a service principal account, which we will create, and we will also generate a client secret ID that we plug into Aria so that it can connect and find the information it needs to start sending data to Aria Operations, and you can monitor your environment through Aria Operations. Here's an idea of what those screens look like. We'll see that in this video and cover the installation configuration of this. So again, keep in mind, this is coming from a prerequisite or understanding that you already have Aria Operations installed on-prem, and you just like to consume that into your AVS information into Aria Operations. So let's start off by going to the Aria Operations console. We're going to head over to Cloud Proxies. It is a best practice to install a cloud proxy in each AVS SDDC that you have. We're not necessarily going to show how to deploy this, as this is a simple OVA deployment. But if you follow the steps on the screen, you'll be able to deploy the cloud proxy. First, we need to gather some of the information we discussed in the presentation. So make sure you log in where the subscription is that AVS is under. Search for intra ID and copy the tenant ID into your notepad. Next, we're going to go back home and look at our subscriptions and identify the subscription that AVS is under. What we're looking for is a subscription ID. Again, copy this to your notepad. Next, we're going to create the custom role in the account that Aria Operations will use to get access to the AVS SDDC. We can do this by going into Access Control under the subscription and click Add and Add Custom Role. Now we're going to fill out the basics, so give it a name. And here's where we add our permissions. We're looking for two areas where we'll add all read access to Aria Operations. We're going to start with Microsoft.avs. Click through all the read options and then click Add. Then we're going to go to Microsoft.VMware and do the same thing. Click all the read options and click Add. Once all the permissions are assigned, move to the next step, which is assignable scope. Here we're going to add the subscription where AVS is as the assignable scope. Once you're done with the assignable scopes, you can review and create. Next, we need to create the account that Aria Operations is going to use. We're going to head back over to Microsoft Intra ID, and we're going to go to the left blade under App Registrations. We're going to create a new registration and give it a name. Once the account is created, we need to generate a client secret. So head over to Certificates and Secrets, Client Secret, and New Client Secret. Give it a description name. And click Add. What we specifically need is the value. So copy that value into a notepad. Now that we have our role and we have our account, we need to apply the account into the custom role that we created. So head over to your subscription, go to Access Control, and click on Add Role Assignment. Search for the role that we created in the previous step. Select the app registration member that we created. And then assigned the role to the new account. Now that we've created the account and the custom role, we're ready to add the software-defined data center into Aria Operations. We can do this by going into Aria Operations under Integration and head over to the Azure VMware Solution under Clouds. Now we simply fill out the information that we had previously. We fill out the subscription ID, the intra-tenant ID, and then we fill out the credentials for the app registration role that we created. One additional item you will need is the application ID. You can find this by going over to the role that we created under App Registrations and Intra ID and find it on the overview page as seen here. Copy in your application ID and your client secret and click OK. Now we can test the connection to see if the information is filled out properly. As long as you have everything filled out correctly, you should get a successful connection. Then you can click Save. Once the information is saved, Aria Operations will go and scan for all the AVS SDDCs. As you can see in this demonstration, we have two software-defined data centers or two AVS instances. Here, we need to fill out some information for the credentials of the vCenter and NSXT instances to be able to complete the configuration. Once all the fields are configured, you can save the private clouds. At this point, we are successfully configured. AVS instances will now be flowing into Aria Operations, and you will be able to build dashboards around different metrics that you want to monitor. That's the end of this how-to video. Do you have an idea for another? Leave a comment below or reach out to me on LinkedIn. We're always looking for new ideas. Have a great day. So Aria, you gonna figure out what you're gonna do? You can lay down back there, but So let's first talk about a little bit